Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
And I'm Jim Love, and I'm a keynote and motivational speaker.
And Jim.
What?
This is episode number 100.
Wait.
Of Hustling Sideways.
No, it's not.
It totally is.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Totally
Congratulations.
Don't give me that look. We talked about this.
You looked really nervous for a second.
For a second,
yes.
I very much was.
And I know we've been probably annoying about being like 100's coming up, but like it's pretty damn cool, and we're pretty proud of it, and we're excited. And so that's the way it goes.
The dirty secret too, though.
Go for it.
We're way past 100, like total episodes.
Okay, but like with guests.
Yeah.
100.
With guests, 100.
Yeah. That's what we... What, are you going to start questioning it now?
No. I'm just saying if somebody's like really technical about it.
No one's that deep of
You're right. Episode 100.
We're fine.
Here
Welcome.
we go.
Yeah, we're here, but we were...
But somebody did count them.
Yeah, well,
someone counted.
And that person might be sitting next to us right now. I'm not really sure. But,
which is our wonderful guest today.
That's right.
From the 707 Hub at Marquette University.
Yes.
You're just the guy in charge to me. I don't know what the
HPIC, right?
Yeah. The title is director, but I tell my students that I actually don't direct anything. Okay. I do, which is fine.
You just do.
Patrick Monahan from the
not from the band Train, but from the 707 Hub.
From
you get
the
that
707 Hub.
I assume you probably get that a lot.
Yeah.
They think you're...
Actually, he gets it all the time.
I'm sure he does. Yeah, it's vice versa. One of my favorite bands of all time, for the record.
No lie. I had a meeting last week, and I get this all the time, but somebody asked me, like, the whole meeting goes by, everything's fine, and then the last question, the guy goes, so, are you related to George Halas?
Oh.
Like, waited till the end, which normally that's like most people
I'd lean into it and say
yes. I never put that together. I would too. I'd be lying.
Wait,
like, yeah, it's my...
Have you, the Bears fan, have
I never... I think because I just consider you a dirty Packer fan, where I don't have Halas and Halas in my head for the combo. But
he waited all the way till the end of like an hour-long meeting to be like, so, are you related to... And I
was he like, really disappointed? It's like Michael Bolton from Office Space.
He's the one that should change his name.
He's the one who sucks. If you haven't seen that movie, like one of the best. We just rewatched it like a month ago, and Office Space is top 5.
It still holds up.
Yeah, so good.
Anyway, Patrick is here. We are here celebrating 100
We're excited.
episode.
And I guess I'll selfishly say I'm celebrating my birthday.
Yeah.
So that's great. And when you're listening to this, it won't be.
It'll be way past it.
I was waiting for one of you to say it because it'd be a lot less weird if I was the one.
I already called out the 100 episode thing.
Yeah,
I don't
fair
need to be
enough.
that
but
guy.
then you question everything about it, and here we are. Are you going to question my birthday too?
No, I believe that one.
Do you have your driver's license?
Should I pull it out? Yeah, here we are. But yes, this was perfect timing. It is. It's actually, we're doing this on a Friday afternoon. Which is like awesome because then we'll go to a Saturday. We'll watch Marquette beat Creighton on the road.
Yep.
We'll all celebrate and join hands across America, and I'm sure that's going to happen, and we're going to speak it into existence. But we're excited to be here. And you know what, folks? So Patrick, who's listening to the show now, a lot of times, he knows the jam. We're just gonna like roll on and see what happens today.
Yeah.
We'll obviously hear about Patrick's life a little bit, and touring with a band for 30 years and being a lead singer of Train, and then we'll see what happens from there. So
Jim is the music writer now. I don't know. I guess I'm the motivational speaker.
Yeah, fair enough.
We should learn a little bit about your background. What kind of brought you to Milwaukee? How about that?
All right. Well, it is glad to be here, and I do apologize that your first choice guest canceled on you. So
first two.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So welcome, Exhibit C.
Yeah, right.
Hey, I'll take it. So I guess going in the Wayback Machine, I did go to Marquette. So I graduated in 2005 with a degree in biomedical sciences. So the initial goal was medical school.
Okay.
Which totally panned out.
Sorry, doctor. Continue.
Doctor, please. And then we'll probably get through all the stories later, but eventually now I've just been back in this role now for a year and a half.
That's awesome. What got you back? Like, did you find the posting for 707?
Well, it's weird. It was I was just looking one day. I was like, because I taught for a long time. I'd done a bunch of other stuff that we'll probably get into later. And I remember I was like, one day I was like, just looking, I was like, see what Marquette has going on. Like, just out of the blue. And I remember like coming across this job. And I was kind of like,
That's a good one.
I was like, this is it. Like, I didn't even like apply. I remember distinctly like I copy and pasted it and I emailed it to my dad right away. I was like, look at this. I was like, I found it.
That's really
This
cool.
is the one.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I said. I said, this is the one. This is that's a lie. I said, this is what I've been waiting for.
Oh, okay.
So
damn. Good for you. That doesn't happen often when someone actually like
no. I was like, well, and it's weird. And I've done a lot of just random things.
Yeah.
Sure. when I left Marquette, I ended up down at Loyola for a couple years doing a master's program. Again, at that point, still trying to get into medical school. Again, panned out well. But I got into I can't really complain about spending time at Loyola. It's where I met who I eventually married.
Okay.
So you got...
I guess
so. Yeah, so there's something
panned out. Yeah. There you go. Excellent.
But so I ended up doing research there, and then I got into research. So I did a lot of I was in a neuroscience group, and then I ended up doing some work and going to school at MIT, and I kind of got the research bug. I was running with that for a while, and the group I was with was just developing neat tools, and they were like, it was like the hot, sexy tool at the time, and other people wanted it.
Yeah.
And so I kind of got into fell into a consulting role.
Okay.
Nice.
And so I ended up working with a group in Japan, working with a group in Ireland to help them build these tools and get trained up on them and everything.
Sweet.
And then kind of all that ended. Well, the quick version is I was going back and forth between Ireland and Boston. Okay. And one day I woke up and I fell over. And I couldn't hear, I couldn't walk.
Legitimately,
like bad movie type, like
up and down,
and something was wrong with my ear, and I just happened to be going back to Boston like that week, and I got checked out, and I got diagnosed with what was called sensory neural hearing loss or something like that. It's been a while, but there's a bunch of nasty things that can cause it, and at that time. We had to move back fully to Boston so I could go to doctors that could try to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then at that time, I kind of had to withdraw from everything. Of course, it made it easy because I was married. I had 2 kids. So,
right.
But so that kind of really changed the trajectory from research. So I was going to be in research. I was in consulting. I was doing all this stuff. And eventually, but I was convinced that, hey, it just happened. We don't know why. Nothing's killing you. So that took a while, and then adjusting to everything, it took a long time. And I like to say I spent 3 years wandering in the wilderness, having just a bunch of random jobs that I was never trained for, but that I ended up getting.
Yeah.
And then I finally stumbled into Catholic education, literally just again by accident.
Yeah, just looking at job postings.
Was that another job posting moment?
Yeah, it was. While I was working, I ended up being hired, of all things, as the director of human resources at a Target.
Really?
Why not?
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that was it was a wild time. Really long hours. Worked with a bunch of great people, but it was really long hours. Really not. There's no fulfillment to it. The pay was nice. I was working with some good people. But at the end of it, I had to find something. And we were doing back to school stuff, and I stumbled across this school that was opening just way earlier than the other schools. I was like, why are they starting so early?
Yeah.
And it was a Catholic school, and they were still looking to hire a science teacher. And at this point, the school year was I don't know, maybe 2 weeks away or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And so I emailed, and I was like, hey, are you still looking for a science teacher?
Yeah.
And the principal, who's a sister, called me back.
Oh wow.
So again, much like how I got this job, I was her best choice, only choice.
Hey, but those two can be synonymous.
Yeah, but so I ended up doing all these weird random things, and then I got into teaching for a long time. Actually, not really that long. Ended up being 7 years. But I remember after that first week, I went into Sister's office, and I don't know why, because you like being sarcastic. She goes, "How was it?" I go, "I quit." And she pretended to choke me.
Yeah.
Homer kind of part kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I started laughing, and I was like, I love this, and I can't believe it took me this long to get here. And then I went into all these why did it take so long? And she was like, stop. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, don't ever discount the path that brings you somewhere.
Oh.
And I was like, boom.
There you go. Yeah.
And so
immediately life adjusted.
Yeah. So it was awesome. So it's something I've carried with me, and I've taught a bunch now. When I figured out we were into teaching, that was a good thing. We moved back to Wisconsin. The kids all go to Catholic school now. I've taught at a handful of different Catholic schools, worked at a handful of different Catholic schools. And again, all these things, I'd like to say that all the weird things I've done, all things that have happened to me, and all those, everything in between, I like to say, it's a very non-linear path, because that sounds cool. Sounds intentional.
Yeah, that's right.
But then when the job came up for the 707 hub, all the random things literally ticked every single box.
Yeah.
It was almost like the job posting was written for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I love it.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot. People that are seemingly in something that didn't match what they fully wanted to do, but every experience they've had prior got them there, which is why sisters, as most sisters are, correct, like, don't discount that path. Like, it's going, the next thing, the next yes will lead you to ultimately where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, so...
And that's literally what happened.
Yeah, and it's all made sense. And it's neat because, having now been, in the hub and, helping students become young entrepreneurs, teaching some classes and doing all this stuff, like, it's... The gaps in a resume are fine.
Yeah.
Like, you need to learn how to tell a story.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, bring someone on a journey, and the weird gaps, oh my God, I'm missing something that didn't fit in my plan. So what? So is everybody. Like, just embrace the journey. You'll get somewhere, and you might just end up with a story at the end.
What does your day look like? I mean, is it students coming in asking you for help? Is it like, what are you typically doing?
What would you say that you
What would you say that you do?
To bring it back to
like, how often are they students just like walking in like randomly versus like setting up time with you? What types of things are you mostly doing?
Yes.
Okay.
So I've got students that we schedule stuff. I've got students that just pop in. And really, it's really neat, and the job kind of gives you a lot of energy because the students come in with their ideas.
Yeah, that's
and
awesome.
and it's the students. It runs the gamut. I've had students that have come in and be like, "Hey, I think I have an idea." Like, they're really that new. Like, it's not even an idea yet.
Right. It could be.
Like, students have come in that have already formed an LLC or have raised money or whatever it might be. So really, it's all over the place.
That's really
cool. So today, I had some students I was helping work with stuff in the makerspace. I had 4 or 5 meetings with different students and groups, a couple with the professors about some coursework.
Okay.
Yesterday it was the same thing. There was like 5 or 6 meetings with students. Again, and now it's ramped up a lot now because the Brute Ideas is coming back around, and so those applications are live again. And,
there you go.
I guess we could say that the Brute Ideas is our biggest competition each
year.
It's the big pitch competition sponsored by Brady. And
I would say, except for those losers you hire to host it.
Otherwise, sans that, there's always a negative to a positive. That's it.
We're those losers.
Yeah, that's
just
sure
for clarity's sake.
We're self-aware.
Good. So I have always said about the 707 Hub that if that space existed when I was on campus, because we were both class of 2013 at Marquette, and I totally knew that I think I knew I wanted to start a business of some sort. I knew I wanted to make money doing my own thing for a long time. If that was available when I was on campus, I think I would have been there all the time. But do you have students that stumble in that have never seen the space before and then just fall in love with it? I would assume. Yeah,
again, it's really all sorts. Like, students come in, and I've got students that come in, they have zero interest in starting a business, but they like using the makerspace for whatever they need to do.
Sure.
I've got students that come in and they like their group meets there for extracurricular whatevers. And then there's groups that come in and use the space for study. But then there's students that come in and, they're like, I need help, from this step to this step in my business or in my idea or whatever it is.
Right.
And it's really just kind of all over the place. And I get what you're saying. So when I was there, I graduated in 2005. And I think it was like the call center when I was there.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, hello, donate to Marquette.
It was a donations. Yeah. Exactly. It was a phonathon. That's what we called it.
Okay.
When you get calls.
So you were in that space.
I never did the phonathon. No, but I had been there before, and I knew. So basically, what a phonathon is a bunch of students calling to get donations and being hung up on. That's a fun part. And it's a rough one. Yeah,
a few times after I graduated.
But that's where the space is now, which is a much better use of it. I would think than a phonathon. That's great.
And there's. I mean, of course, we do our live podcast from there too, which is thank you again for making this.
Been a lot of fun.
Bringing us into that whole world too. But I think the coolest thing is being able to see the students that are super motivated. We get the same kids that will come back to 3 or 4 shows in a row.
Yeah,
they'll sit in the same spot, and then
it's like a class.
They'll be the first ones to ask a question.
Yeah, and they're always really good questions. Where I'm like, I wish we asked that during the show.
Right.
And there, you could tell there's a different energy of the students that really not only have a passion for what they want to do, but genuinely want to learn what the person on stage wants to do.
Yeah.
I mean, you think about the people we've had up there have been from hedge fund owners to typewriter festivals to everything to still be there each week and then have a level of interest. It just I think a lot of times right now there's stereotypes about younger like Gen Z having a horrible attention span. Like if you walked into one of our shows, that would just be squashed quickly. Right. They are so in. No phones are out. Like they're and I think that speaks to what environment and culture has been created there of like actual learning and hearing about people's stories and then wanting to dive in more, because you don't get that everywhere you go. I mean, it's a really unique thing.
And a lot of things I say to students, especially with like the course I taught this last year, I was like, if someone's going to become an entrepreneur, that's almost something that's kind of inside of them. Like they have this drive to do that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean, even if you're not going to go do that, that doesn't mean you shouldn't learn how to think like one, work like one, solve problems like one, however that might be, however you want to phrase whatever they call the entrepreneurial mindset or skill set or whatever.
Yeah.
But that's like, so that's kind of just the way we talk about it now, that it's so much more than just startups.
Yeah.
It's really a way of learning how to do things.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I think, so like when I went there for what is now digital media. At the time, it was broadcast and electronic communication, which was great because on a resume, it sounded like two different majors.
That one worked really hard. It sounded like
I was a double major.
It's a good and.
Yeah, it's a good and. But I feel like the one class that really stood out to me was from he wasn't even a professor. He was just a teacher that worked in Hollywood and then came back to Milwaukee and actually owns a shop in Milwaukee that does like After Effects and it's called rotoscoping. Like they take the green wire out of the, like when the guy's up on flying through the air, they take the wires out, right? Okay. They do all the digital after stuff.
Yeah.
But because I felt like he's one of the industry guys, like that was the thing that connected me to it, to be like, oh, he's the real deal. He's been out there. He's doing the thing. And so I feel like what 707 Hub does by bringing in Brady, by bringing in us, by bringing in whoever the guests are that we are, is they're seeing people that have actually gone out and done it.
That's right.
And like, you can be a teacher forever and have taught this for 40 years, but I feel like it feels a little different when you bring somebody from the quote unquote real world to come in and like tell the story too, right?
And it's not always pretty, you know. Like there's challenges along the way that you have to get through. I think a lot of people like assume like, oh, that went really well, they must have been great. It's like they had some really shitty times. You know, we have to dive into that. Like, how did you get through that? And I mean, the amount of people that have talked about like mental health and well-being and just the things that they do, you know, I'm like so many lessons of like, if I were to do this every day, 12 hours a day, I'd burn to the ground. You know, like you have to find your ways to escape. And it's not always this glamour. It's actually rarely this glamorous life that is just awesome. Like you really got to care about it and you got to work your butt off to make it work. And that's the stuff that fascinates me, because I like to take away from like this, like, that person's like a social media influencer, they're doing this, but like their life is not this wonderful thing. Like they worked really hard to get there. And here's all the steps along the way that it took. And they all didn't go that well. You know, like, so here's lessons learned, which that's like that. I've always heard that like that separates kind of the conversations that we have from the rest of like, tell us about when it didn't go well. Right. What did you learn from it? And that's where people get a lot of value from.
Yeah.
Well, and those also make for like the best stories.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
And the other thing that's neat is, so there's always this kind of like idea that in order to be an entrepreneur, it's like tech. You have to have an app. You have to do all these other things. But the people that have come in and been guests on the show, like they've been from all over the place.
Yeah.
So like you can start a business, you know, in anything.
Yeah.
And it's good because the students can hit that messaging, because a lot of I still meet with students all the time. They're like, oh, I can't start a business because I don't know how to X.
Right. Yeah, I don't know how to create an app, create a website, create a whatever. Or, I mean, I think, yes, especially like the tech startup world, when people think entrepreneurship now, they think that. You know what I mean? Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. And that's where we bring in the weirdos, right? We bring in the people that, have done a little bit of everything.
The psychos, right.
Yeah, no. I think too, though, like when you see, we've got the Brood Ideas Challenge coming up, and seeing the students, I was actually pretty blown away when we went to go do this the last time to go host, because I was expecting 10 kids with an app. You know what I mean? 10 kids that were going to develop, like, it's going to be Uber for blah, blah, blah. It's, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
I expected that, and I don't think we maybe had one or two that were actually like an app or an AI.
There was one app, and then the Abby has been on the show with the AI software. But it's ideas from all over the place.
Very niche, specific, right?
Is there ever parts where you have to like tell them like, no, it doesn't have to be tech. Like, you can be like, you know, open a shop or whatever, you know, or whatever it is that they're doing.
Yeah, and so what's like when students come in like and they haven't done anything yet, kind of those first steps are always kind of the same. You talk about research, talk about why they want to do something and all those things. But then one thing that I really try to get them to focus on is find the problem. Yeah. And that's actually something Manny said on the episode. He was like, paraphrase was, don't fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you get kind of like solutionitis. Oh, I built this thing, it does this, and then you go looking for a problem to solve.
Yeah.
But I was like, and even if they're selling a product or just creating something that, you know, isn't, you know, quote unquote innovation based entrepreneurship. I was like, well, what problem are you solving? What need does this fill? You know, reframe how you talk about what you're doing kind of in that, using that lens. And then it's funny the first time they think about it that way. It reminds me of being a teacher because all of a sudden they go, "Oh!"
That's how you see the light.
Yeah, you're like, there it is.
Yeah,
that's great.
So that's always neat when that happens.
What's been like a really big challenge was facing student entrepreneurs? Something that you've maybe a commonality that a lot of them had to overcome, whether it's like confidence or support from friends, or anything that stuck out as a theme.
So they're all really. I mean, the uniting thing is that they're all Marquette students.
Yeah.
But outside of that, they're all pretty different from different everything, bringing different ideas, different majors, everything. The one thing that most students, not that they struggle with, but they're hesitant to do, is get up in front of somebody and talk. We focus a lot on, especially towards the end of the competitions, like this is what goes into a pitch deck. This is how you present. This is what you should probably do with your hands instead of what you're doing right now.
Right. Yeah. Wait, what?
Yeah. So it's a lot of that, and it's just practice. You know, it's, you know, they get them. It's it's normally just me or a couple other, you know, adults.
Yeah, right.
Like they're practicing for it, and we're like, hey, just give them some feedback and some pointers, and most of them are really good with all that. They're like, you know, they take it down, they make notes, then they come back and they give you something.
They're competitive, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day,
they want to win. Yeah,
they want to win. There's money on the line.
If I'm thinking about
funding on the line.
Yeah, exactly. The folks we've had on here. When like what we were like, what was that experience like to go up there? We're like, it was terrifying, you know, like to go,
God, yeah.
like, and that was always like the thing of like, I gotta give this to people, like present this to folks, and they did. I mean, there was a couple. I'm like, you did really well. Like, I'm thinking like Bridget, like was like, I know she didn't win, but like so unbelievably a good speaker. You know?
Well, and when you guys interviewed the Black Minds team, that's something Jasmine said. She was like, I was scared to death to go up there and still talk, but she's like, but what we're doing, what we're creating, what we're solving is really good for people.
Yeah, exactly.
So all I have to do is go up there. So just do it.
Just go.
Just like go. The definition of being driven by what you're actually passionate
about. Well, you know,
about.
in like as a speaker, I get asked a lot, do I get nervous when I go up? And the answer is hell yeah, I get nervous. Like I'm nervous because I care about what I'm going to say, and I hope they do too. I'm not nervous about being on stage. I used to be, but I'm fine now. But like my heart is pounding when I go up. I'm sweating, but it's not like I'm going to mess up. It's because I really hope that they identify and you know, like what I say, and like that will always. If the day that I don't feel that way is the day I should probably stop speaking. Yeah, that's what I found.
Did you get nervous the first time we did a Hustling Sideways live? Just curious.
Yeah,
I actually don't know. I mean, now we're getting in behind the scenes. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, I mostly because I was like, I just hope it goes well. You know, like not nervous about like the conversation. Similar vibe. Like I'll never be nervous about getting up and talking in front of people, but I'm like, I hope we're funny, you know, or like I hope that like this is totally. I hope it lands, you know, like the message is good. And then I am terrified, and thank goodness for Alan, but like I'm not good at transitioning from like one topic to the next, and Alan's brilliant at that. So my terrifying thing is like dead air, in which we never run into that. But like you're really good at it, and that's just a skill that you have. And I'm like stuck on like the thing, and then it takes a little bit for me to like move on. But Alan's got like the next thing queued up. That's why it always worked well.
I would say that's really funny because I was scared the whole time because I was like, I don't do this. I don't go up. I'm not the guy on stage ever, right? Until this, and I was like, oh well, Jim's a speaker, right? So I was just like unintentionally relying on you, and then I'm also thinking like. All the stuff that I think while we do this podcast too, where I'm like, are the cameras all on?
Yeah,
and you sound okay?
The behind stuff,
what I mean?
Yeah. And I know like Brute Ideas, for example, like at one point it didn't make sense for both of us to go up, so I was just like, I'll take this over and like do the remaining part. You know, like you just kind of do your thing and go. But yeah, it is fun because you just have to figure out like really quick what you're good at, and you know, and it's like Like, I know what I'm not. You know, like, I'm like, really go ahead and ask the good questions.
I'm really glad that we were secretly both relying on each other to get through that thing, to be like, oh, man.
That's 4 years of...
at least the first
of potting partnership right there.
Yeah. The unspoken.
Yeah, absolutely. We have, we're the Brood Ideas Challenge coming up. Do you get to see those students, I guess, ahead of time? Like, do you get to see what the projects are for all of them. Do you ever kind of get an inkling of, like, because you're not involved in the voting.
Correct.
So, do you ever get an inkling of, like, this is the one?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I'm not going to into anything. No, but there's definitely been times where I've been working with students, and a lot of the students that end up applying, now not all of them, but a lot of them, I've been working with already in the year. And you get to the points where I'm like, you guys should apply. And then it takes some nudging and figuring it out. But then there's times where I've been in meetings, I was like, guys, this is a really good idea.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I always encourage, I never tell any students an idea is bad. That's for them to figure out.
Yeah, right. That's a good way.
Now, granted, a lot of students, they normally come with pretty good ideas.
Yeah.
If they're passionate
about it, they've experienced whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's definitely been some times where I've been working with them and I was like, man, this could be it.
Have you had... And you don't kind of like say best, but like, have you had a personal favorite idea that you've been like, I wish I thought of that in the time that you've been there? Like one that sticks out to you?
No, not really. I was telling all the students that did the presentations last year that during the entire thing I felt like a parent. Like I was nervous for them.
Totally.
Like I told them,
the nerves,
I was like, I can't, like they're up there, they're presenting, you want everybody to do well, and I tell them, like, because they get paired with a mentor, we do some boot camps, we bring in some other people to help with some of these things and kind of guide them along, but I'm mentoring everybody the whole way through it.
Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, and I tell them like right away, I was like, I am not a judge because there's no way.
Yeah.
Like,
they couldn't do it.
You win.
Well, yeah, and also like all those students have kind of come through the 707 hub at one point or another. So now it is kind of like, look, this is what we're doing here. Like, it's like
that's why it's a big day.
It's like a kid's concert recital, and you're like, I really hope that they don't play the wrong note, and they're not, you know what I mean? Like, but you're also
this
like,
recital is actually good.
Well, I did tell a lot of the students that I talked, and I'm still, so some of them graduated, but a lot of the students I still work with and help, mentor coaching, whatever they need. But I was telling them that just like when I was teaching, like every year I taught, those classes always got compared to that first class I ever taught.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I was like telling the Black Minds girls, Kennedy, Abby, Evan, all those guys. I was like, everyone's going to be compared to you guys forever. Because you were the first ones I went through with, and it's and they all did such a great job, and they were. What was really neat too was like, it's a competition. Ultimately you want to win that seed money because you can do something with it.
Yeah.
But like the way that they like during the event were like encouraging each other. Just really kind of blew me away too. Like they were cheering for each other, they were in each other's corner, and
it was great.
Yeah,
it was pretty powerful.
I don't know if I would have had that mentality though to be like that uplifting. If I was competing in it, I would totally be like silent when people. And that's maybe I'm just a terrible person. No,
I probably if there's money on the line, and you really want to win. I would be. I would struggle. I mean, I would find it in me to be like, great job, but I'd be like, this sucks. Like I wish I won. I would feel that way too. It's naturally competition, but thankfully the students are a lot better people than we are. So
it's like they have like good mentors and like morals.
They must have people watching over them. Proud parents. That's
proud parents. Yes. So this next crop of like startups are going to be great though. I'm sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of, again, they're all over the place. All sorts of different ideas.
Some apps or
there's some stuff in tech.
Okay.
There's some more, so the two tracks, the traditional and then the mission driven. So there's some stuff in there really, identified at, solving some problems.
Yeah.
But we don't know who the finalists are and I don't just pick those too. Like I get some other professors, faculty, staff, whatever to help, make some decisions and then.
Yeah.
Has there been like a really significant success story that like one idea has got like in the time of the hub that one idea that we would know now or like some level of product?
So there's
have you heard of DoorDash? No, I'm just kidding.
Uber, right?
Uber.
So I just built out the website with a bunch of alumni on there.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of alumni on there that have like come through the hub and like taken part in something. And the one thing that I always try to like the line I try to balance is that, you know, we don't take credit for anything.
Yeah.
Like it's like, so there's a handful of things on there that are businesses out there doing things, but it's never like, oh yeah, because of the hub. It's just
right.
But
you don't want to feel like you're like stepping on toes to be like,
like
we created
did this.
You.
Yeah.
We
made so we're just, and it was neat. There was, again, wow, you guys have interviewed a lot of people. The quick help tutoring.
Totally.
Vincent had an amazing line in the podcast.
I remember this. He told me.
Yeah, he was like it's this could be a really bad paraphrase, but the effect was it was like a no lose situation. He's like, we're gonna go through, we're gonna win, or we're gonna learn how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's the best line ever. Like, copy paste. I'm gonna clip that. I'm gonna send that to my boss.
Yeah, it's cool. And he felt that way. I remember that. I remember having that interview. I remember he felt that way and was like, why wouldn't we go participate in that?
Right.
Like, of course, because they're literally. The worst case scenario is you're back where you were, but you learn more. You know, like
well, and that's what we tell. Like, so students, you know, their journey goes from here all the way to here and whatever. And it's, if you get to this point and you fail, you're not starting all the way over here again.
Yeah.
You've learned all of these things, and so you just
which is the path that
which is how you
that's it.
That's their non-linear path, right?
Yeah, that's their non-linear
taking this
here,
and
non-linear
then
path is such a brutal buzzword. I'm like, I'm going to say it all day. I know. It's very non-linear, folks.
Yeah, actually, I kind of want to use that too. I had a very non-linear path to writing about music.
Yeah, listen to my non-linear path, bro. All right, how about that?
All right, stay tuned for our next podcast. It is called This Week in Non-Linear Paths. We'll put out an episode like once every Monday and once every like Thursday.
Yes, at midnight at 2 p.m.
Non-linear.
Yeah, that's it.
Man, we should have. You know what? I'm rethinking this entire podcast.
Can we do the separate ideas?
Oh yeah, we'd like to pitch that for some funding from Brady.
If in the event that we're on stage again, we should absolutely come out with a product that we built that's like a total joke.
You know what this ends up being?
2 minutes of it. That's it.
You've seen Step Brothers, right?
Of course. Yeah. It's
we are literally
Prestige
building
Worldwide.
Prestige Worldwide.
Wide.
I have wait.
We shouldn't have given it away. I should have just made that a surprise.
Go ahead and say it. It's
Prestige Worldwide.
You couldn't hear it, but in the post.
No way.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely.
Oh my
God. I turned up the wrong dial.
Why are we not doing this more often? It took you 100 episodes to figure out you can make my voice go like that?
There's a lot of buttons over there.
Yeah. There's a lot of buttons.
Sometimes I press them and I get in trouble.
Yeah, I believe it.
There's, I think there's like 100 of
I'm surprised there's not a sign on there that says Jim, don't touch.
Yeah, it's there somewhere. Yeah.
It's implied with where the mixer is in the room.
I mean, the arrangement and design of the room speaks volumes, really, if you think about it. That's a bad pun, I guess, right? But all of his stuff is over there, and Jim has a pillow.
Jim's got a pillow.
The printer I've broken twice, so this keeps coming off.
Oh, guys, no, now you turned it on, so now I don't know.
Oh,
Let's print out. It's fine. We'll be fine.
I don't claim to be tech guy. I just reap the benefits of one. Let's just say that.
Oh, okay, that works.
That's you.
That works. Well, yeah, this is.
I have a question though.
Oh,
this is going back to your Marquette days. How was it being on campus for a Final Four run? Like when you were a student?
I was just talking about. I wasn't here.
Where were you at?
I was studying abroad in Galway.
Oh, dude. Well, Galway's a good place to study.
Yeah, so there was a. We may or may not have frequented an establishment of sorts.
You're allowed to say drink a lot. So that's okay.
But
the statute of limitations, I think, is up.
Yeah. But so we watched the games at like, I don't know, Dark 30 at some pub.
Yeah.
And so it was pretty neat.
Was that the bar you went to? Or what was the place that you went to in Galway? Like a couple of spots?
No, Dark 30, like the time.
Oh, sorry.
Not, although
I definitely did not catch on
bar
that.
Name though.
Yeah,
Zero Dark 30.
That's why I just assumed. Did you ever go to like Richardson's or?
We went to the King's Head a lot.
King's Head was good.
And then
I'm the only one in this room that hasn't been to Ireland.
No, it's amazing.
You should
go.
Galway is
Galway's
like
the best.
Galway's like Europe's answer for an American college.
It really is, and they know what they're good at. And it's having parties for all the American kids who are studying abroad. It's the greatest. And there was one old man bar called Richardson's where I got to know the bartender.
Now I feel like actually I'm at the age where I'm at the old man bar instead.
It was so good. But so did you like? I'm sure you were all celebrating and like going nuts there.
It was fun and all that, and then all like my buddies back here they road trip down and
that's so cool.
That probably had to be a long drive back.
Yeah,
that's the worst part. I went down when we made the Elite Eight. I followed that whole trip when I was a senior. We were about to graduate. And the drive home, it was in D.C. back to Chicago. It was like Easter weekend. And we got back, and I was like, I was like so annoyed and whatever, upset. Right. And I didn't have a job yet. Right, like I was still doing. So my family was all over for Easter, and everyone's like, "What are you doing after college?" And I like didn't want to talk to anyone. I was like
going to bed.
I was like, not only did my team just lose, I don't have a job yet. I like avoided everyone. It was like the worst Easter.
What are you doing after college? I don't know, but I did just
not watching a game.
Travel down to DC to watch my team lose.
I got home that morning and was didn't sleep in the car. We were all mad. And this was like. We were so trained to like to have the team win. Now like if they lose, like I'm gonna be okay. This was that time where I was like, they win every game. I had Final Four in my head, and when it didn't happen, and it was the game where they had 35 points, and it was still the lowest scored game of NCAA tournament history. And I was at the game, 52-35. That was it.
Hey, well, at least you saw history in DC. You saw history.
That's it. What more can you ask? But yeah, that's really cool though. I mean that you were able to celebrate in Ireland at least.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, knock on wood, whatever. Fingers crossed. Will tell. Yeah. Maybe we'll be watching another one right as we speak. As this episode is airing. Probably like the week that this is airing.
Are there big plans for the 707 Hub beyond what you're doing now? Or
we've been. So the biggest thing this year was the addition of the Methods of Ignition Innovation course.
I remember you telling me about that.
Which
aren't you teaching that?
Yeah, so I taught that. We had 18 students from like 12 different majors.
Awesome.
The whole course was like come in, learn how to solve a complex problem and work in teams. Yeah. So it was great.
That's perfect.
Everything went really well. So that was the big new thing this year. And one thing that's really nice is we have there's a new professor of entrepreneurship too. And so he brought a lot of it was neat because I was new, I had a bunch of ideas. He's new, he's got a bunch of new ideas. So
are they brewed ideas or new ideas?
Yeah, exactly. That was worse than the volume one.
I was going to see it speaks volumes. Yeah,
I'm hoping that I triggered your
there. Yeah.
Anyway. But so he's helping a lot, and he's really student focused too. He's helped build another pitch competition, launching what's called it's called the CEO Club, Collegiate Entrepreneurial Organization, just resources and things for students to be involved with.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. So and then we still have all and then the other big thing that's actually really gonna come to fruition this year is our summer program. Okay. So Abby did it last year. She was like, it was very beta. I'm like, hey, we got some donor. Katie Stoka was the first donor for it to have students work on something over the summer.
Yeah,
sure.
So we turned it into a stipend, and ultimately it was pretated time, so she wouldn't have to go get a job at whatever.
Yeah.
And so they had time to work all summer long, and she got involved with G Beta and all the other 4M and the Tech Hub and everything.
Awesome.
And then it really helped her Taylor Remedy, accelerate,
build,
which is funny. I think some of those programs are called accelerators.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah.
But man, those are some bad jokes.
Hey, you didn't come here for any good jokes.
It's not a comedy podcast.
We had no expectations of this.
But we have we're gonna have 3 students in it this summer.
Oh, awesome!
Excellent. And then and we're calling it Catalyst because I thought it sounded cool.
Good name for it.
Yeah. And Abby's gonna come back and help kind of bring a lot of the stuff she learned in house. Yeah. So these students, the same thing. They're gonna earn a stipend, and it's gonna be protected time for them to take their business to whatever their next step might be.
Excellent.
Yeah. Again, if I had that when I was
in
school, awesome. I would have launched 3 businesses that would have all failed, and then came up with one smart one at the end. You know what I mean? Right at the end. In the last week, I would have been like, I should have did that the whole time.
That's awesome.
And the other thing, speaking towards the end, made me think of something. We do have a lot of students that are coming in that are they're first years or second years or something, and it's just neat getting them in there and engaged when they still have a lot of runway left.
Totally.
Now it's the seniors that come in, they've gone through a lot of classes and they're they're brilliant. They have ideas and everything, and they're doing stuff, and that's great too. But then you do all this work and then they're gone.
Yeah.
Right.
And then they're off doing whatever they need to do anyways, which is great. That's the point.
Yeah.
But it's neat that to have some students that you just have more time with.
Yeah. And I'm sure you can watch an idea literally go from 18-year-old fresh out of high school doesn't know a thing about the real world idea that is super lofty and big and doesn't really make a lot of sense. I'm sure you watch it get dialed in as the years go too, and then you're like, oh, they actually turned it into a company. Because I think with time in general, you go from being I'm gonna be the next Apple somehow to I'm probably okay as this instead. You know what I mean?
I know my place. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel just with time you just dial it in a little.
And then we really kind of doubled down on the dorm fund activity this year too. So the dorm fund is another way for students to raise seed money for whatever their idea might be, and it's run by what are called dorm fund associates. So it's run by a handful of students that actually help coach students through like a pitch process until they can actually pitch their idea and then earn up to $2,500. Oh, wow. Now, it might be tiered. Like, I have this company, I need to do X, Y, Z. And then, all right, here's the first money, know, seed money for whatever, $1,000. Yeah. Work on X, come back, show us what you got, pitch for the rest type stuff.
Earn the second part of it.
Yeah, we've had 4 successful pitches in the fall, and I feel like every Friday for the dorm fund is now like packed up from like. Today there was a pitch until like spring break.
Oh wow!
And so it's really all pitched for that. Is it like in front of just?
It's for the associates.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So we did a lot more. Like I was much more involved with the associates as they were getting started this year because it was all mostly new students that had never done it before. I was like, so here's kind of what we're looking for. Here's what we're thinking about. But I said at the end of the day, it's not Shark Tank. Like you're not looking for reasons to be out. Mm-hmm. You're looking for reasons to invest because our job is to help students grow what they want to grow.
Right.
And so if that means the students need more help or practice with pitching or need some more direction or something else, that's what we do. And then they pitch again.
Mm-hmm. Very
Because it's really about the process of getting them, the goal is to get them over the finish line.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
I feel like they're doing such great work at 707 Hub that again, we would have benefited from it. Now we are. But I feel like we're learning.
Now you're contributing to it.
Yeah, we're contributing to it.
Happy to be part of it.
Mm-hmm. If you would have told my parents back in the day that I actually go to Marquette and people want to hear me speak, mind blowing.
That's it. Yeah.
I mean, maybe they don't need to hear me speak, but they hear us speak, and that's good. Well, Patrick, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, this was great.
100th episode. If people want to know more about the Marquette 707 Hub, what's the best place to go to?
707hub.org.
There we go.
Oh, you heard it here first. Yeah, perfect.
There we go. And if you are listening to this show for the first time or the 100th time, can say that now. We are the Hustling Sideways podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. We are also on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, TikTok, all of the places. If you want to be a guest on this podcast, you can do that by sending us an email over at hustlingsideways@gmail.com, or you can fill out the form that is in our Instagram bio as well. And Jim, for the 100th time plus,
keep on hustling.
We'll see you next week.
Peace.